So good afternoon, and thank you to the organisers for the invitation to the meeting. So just those of you who are not too familiar with Basilea, a sort of background slide. We were spun off from Roche in the year 2000, at a time when lots of large pharmaceutical companies were moving out of the anti-infective area, particularly antibacterials and antifungals. So that's when we were formed back in 2000. We have about 190 people in the company, and as our name suggests, we're from near Basel. We're from Auschwitz in the Swiss Innovation Park near Basel. And we've been listed on the SIX stock exchange since 2004. In terms of what we do as a company, we're focused on the area of the severe bacterial and fungal infections, the treatment of those diseases. What we mean by severe is usually infections that occur in the hospital setting. So these are patients often who are immunocompromised, they're weakened, their underlying medical condition means they're prone to get these bacterial and fungal infections, and these can lead to really high mortality rates, morbidity rates for these patients. And we genuinely believe there are real unmet medical needs in this area. There's limitations with current medicines. You often hear about growing resistance, antibacterial resistance, but there's also other issues. There's toxicities of current treatments, spectrum of activity of current drugs isn't broad enough to cover the relevant pathogens, etc. And we are a company that we've been in this area for, like I say, since 2000, but we actually only refocused back into this area at the beginning of 2022. And we think it was the right decision to do for a company of our size to focus on an area like this. And we have expertise and capabilities in this area, and I'll give you some evidence of that over the coming slides. We have two revenue-generating products. We are cash flow positive and have been for a number of years now, and we've got a built-in pipeline of products behind those two commercial assets. In terms of our business model, this is a little bit complicated, but if you understand this slide, you really understand Basilea. Yeah? We are a company that we don't have our own platform technology, okay? Which some of you who are familiar with the biotech space, you may think that's a negative, but we don't at all. We think this is actually a source of strength because it means what we can do is we look in the world around us, we look for assets in the antibacterial, antifungal space, we look for the best assets and we in-license them or acquire them, bring them into our company. We then develop them through research and development, and then we sell them through a third party. So we don't sell ourselves. So our 190 employees are all in Basel, but we sell our products in almost 80 countries. So we sell them through commercial partners, people like Pfizer, Astellas, or other regional partners. So they sell our drugs for us. We participate through royalties, through milestone payments, sometimes selling product. And then probably another important element of this model is in the anti-infective area, there is actually really real non-dilutive funding available. This is largely from the US government, but it's not solely from the US government. But basically, we get real non-dilutive money to help us develop our drugs, and all our products in our pipeline have got funding from these non-dilutive sources. Like I said, the majority is from the US government. When you see the scale of the numbers, you'll wonder, why does the US government give Basilea so much money? Yeah? And actually the reason they give us the money is not because they just think we're a nice Swiss company, but actually is because they really believe in having treatments that could be potentially useful in the advent that could be useful against bioterrorism. So this part of the US government that gives us the money is concerned about pathogens that could be weaponized against the US. So actually they support the development of antibacterials and antifungals that could potentially address these sorts of issues in the future. So that's why they give us money. They don't give us the total funding for the products. I'll come back to that in a moment, but they give us a meaningful amount contribution to the development of our products. What is our pipeline today? Our pipeline today, we have two, as I said, commercial products, an antifungal called Cresemba and an antibacterial product called Zevtera. And below that, you get various products at different stages of clinical development. In the middle, they're the most, I guess, the near-term most important products. Fosmanogepix, and it's difficult to say, but ceftibuten-ledaborbactam. Those two products, one's an antifungal, one's an antibacterial, they are our midterm future success will come from these products in addition to the continued revenues of the products at the top. And we think these two products, which we call our phase 3 products, actually have the potential to double our current in-market revenues of our company. So we think we're in a very good place as a company. Let me just show you a couple of words on the two commercial stage assets. This is our lead commercial stage asset, which is the antifungal called Cresemba. This generates, in the 12 months to September 2025, this generated almost $600 million of global sales in these 80 countries or 76 countries that it's available in, and 27% year-on-year growth. So this product is driving Basilea's revenues today. And what's encouraging, actually a factual point, is about a third of those revenues end up in my P&L. You remember, the partners sell the product, Basilea gets royalties, gets milestones, gets product sales. So about a third of those revenues end up in Basilea's P&L. But like I said, with very limited costs, because the commercialization is all done by third parties. So this is driving our revenues today. And then we have the other commercial stage asset is the antibacterial called Zevtera. This is just about to embark on a period of growth because it's only last year, July last year, when we launched the product, or our partner launched it in the US. And the US is in this, those of you that just see the graph at the bottom on the right, just depicts another antibacterial product similar to our product, and about 90% of the sales come from the US. So we believe about 90% of the potential of this product is in the US market, and basically we've just launched, our partner just launched in the US. So we've got a period of exclusivity until April 2034, where this product can cause new growth for the company for the next 8 years. And that's important for the company. Just putting those two commercial products together and looking at the P&L, it's a bit of a busy P&L, but basically we're a company that sells almost 200 million this is now Swiss francs. So we report in Swiss francs, obviously, being a SIX listed company. So we sell just under 200 million in 2025 Cresemba and Zevtera revenues. And then you see this line, other revenue. This is not another product. This is the money we get from the US government and other sources, but mostly the US government. And you see it, when I said it was meaningful earlier on, we get, last year, we got $38 million of non-dilutive, million francs of non-dilutive funding from the US government, which is, we have to, for accounting reasons, it's other revenue. It actually offsets, it's nothing related to sales, it's actually offsets the operating expenses. So you see the growth in operating expenses as we spend money on our development stage compounds. So we issue invoices to the US government. They give us reimbursement of about 70% of the costs of our R&D for the concerned product. So that's what that line on the P&L is. And probably the only other thing to point out is I mentioned we were profitable biotech company. We exceeded our guidance on all the parameters, 51 million francs of operating profit last year. That is a decline on net profit versus the previous year because we had a one-off deferred tax asset benefit that we recognized last year. That contributed to that change. But the important thing for me on this slide is that if you look at the net cash on the bottom, if you look at the cash we have in the bank versus we have one outstanding convertible bond, we end up with a nicely increasing net cash position as a company, which is very important to us as a company as we go through the next few years. In terms of our guidance for 2026, Our guidance, 10% increase on revenue, 20% increase in R&D, but a 20% operating profit increase. So we think we're in a healthy position as a company on a solid foundation, financial foundation. In terms of, though, what the future holds, just probably to spend a couple of moments on this. This is a visual depiction of, I mentioned a moment ago, Cresemba is driving our revenues today. Most of the 200 million Swiss francs of annual revenues come from Cresemba. And that at the end of 2027, 2028, 2029 will start to decline, as generics will inevitably, in most pharma markets, you get generic entry. And so we will start to get generic erosion of Cresemba from 2028 onwards. And so obviously that's not a good situation if you've not got a plan to deal with it. Basilea has a very good plan, which is threefold, which is Zevtera, the other commercial asset we've just launched in the US to maximize the opportunity in the US, which I mentioned a moment ago. And then our two phase 3 compounds, fosmanogepix and ceftibuten-ledaborbactam, are scheduled to be launched, if all goes according to plan, at the end of 2028 and the end of 2029. So these would have probably 10 years of exclusivity. And so this probably puts us, not probably, this does put us in the best position I think we've ever been in terms of, as a company, in terms of the portfolio we've got, the financial footing we're on, and the near-term, long-term prospects for the company. In terms of because we get questions from investors about how are you really dealing with the Cresemba decline, we actually went a step further when we issued our full year results about a month ago. Normally we just give guidance for the year we're in, 2026, but this time we gave longer term prospect for the company to help investors think about how the company is going to look like in the next few years as its main revenue driver starts to decline. So that's what this slide and this messages were all about. So the top left just explains from a cash point of view, because I guess ultimately that's what we're concerned about. When your main revenue driver starts to decline, we need to make sure that we've got the cash. And basically, on the left, it just explains to you our current cash position, 160 million in the bank. Our prediction is that over the next 26 to 2030, we'll generate 600 million from the existing, this is nothing to do with the new products, just from the existing Cresemba and Zevtera commercial products. And then we have in the current contracts we have signed with non-dilutive funding bodies, mostly the US, we have 330 million of potential additional funding. So we think we're in a very strong financial position over the next years to be able to deliver on the right-hand side. The right-hand side is to bring these two phase 3 compounds to the market, advance the earlier stage assets, and also have money available like we've been doing to build our pipeline over the coming months and years. And so finally, 5 reasons to invest in Basilea. I won't read them all out, but basically, I think what I've tried to communicate to you is that we're on a solid financial footing. We're in an area of unmet medical need. We've been successful through having the right products, and we actually think we've got the right products in development because we've gone out and we've brought into our company the best products we think that are out there. And so that's probably what I would say in the interest of time. So thank you for your attention.